Hello, this is Christian Idealism. So today we're just having a unique discussion, something I don't really talk about because of the current situation we're dealing with. We are, I think this is very important to discuss given the amount of impact it's going to have on our economy and our health and so on and so forth. Um, but, but yeah, so it's, you know, like I'm sure we've all heard of what's been going on. Um, And so I think it's best if we all follow those orders, which is stay inside, don't go out and do things. I mean, what do you think, Ryan? I mean, that seems to
Um,
be,
Go ahead.
yeah, it seems to be like, I think it's important that we actually do what health officials say in this crisis, at least currently.
No, yeah, I mean, definitely. I don't see any reason why. I know I've talked to a lot of people where their instant reply is oh, it's fear mongering, it's the government controlling us. Like, what would really be their motive behind all this? And not only that, but I actually know of a few families that are affected by this. So it's like, did they just make that up too? Like, it's not media BS. It's not just like this phony thing that's going around. I think that people definitely need to, like you said, they should be heeding the warnings of CDC and of the World Health Organization, because it's it's it has the potentiality of being far more deadly, and they're trying to nip it in the bud. But you have people like the spring breakers and stuff, and then you have people online, encouraging people that it's just media BS, and people are not socially distancing themselves. They're going out to restaurants, they're going out to eat, they're just not listening. And the worst impact of it is that um, it doesn't just affect us. Like yeah, I get that, like, you don't want your liberties taken away and whatnot, but even if go out, it's not like it just impacts you. Like, if you get sick and you don't realize it, which most of the time, they're diagnosing as pneumonia or another flu, because it's very similar. So, like, that's the danger of this flu, or of this virus, is that if people are just ignoring this, they'll go out into the public and they'll spread it. And then at that point, it impacts other people. And the second you're impacting other people's well-being, like, then it's not just a liberty game with you. It's you are violating the rights of other people that choose to uh, not only just choose to live longer, but the most ironic part about it, and this kind of I'll wrap it up. The most ironic part is that they claim that it's all about protecting our liberties. Well, I mean, if we all get sick and die, like, there won't be people around to have liberties to protect. Like that's the whole point, is to preserve the nation, like, to preserve the people. Um, and they gave them a chance at first, and now we're seeing, like, this lockdown effect, and people are all up in arms. And it's like, I mean, they let you have your freely choose to your ability to freely choose what to do, and no one listened to it. So it's like, so people are, it reminds me exactly. So I teach PE for pre-K through 12. It reminds me exactly of, like, my first and second graders, when I ask them to follow the rules. They don't follow the rules, then I make them, and they pout. Like,
Right.
except we're dealing with, like, 20 to 60-year-olds. So
Well, right. Well, I mean, in this situation, people will they'll compare it to the flu, right? But they don't realize that experts have already pretty much concluded that this is not just the flu, right? Like, if it was just the flu, we wouldn't be doing this. There's a reason why the CDC is recommending that we do this quarantine thing, right? And it's because it is more deadly than the flu. It's more contagious. It affects a lot more people. It's in your body longer than the flu, so it takes longer for your immune system to fight it off, stuff like that. And the worst part, of course, that we don't have a vaccine. We have no treatment for it, at least currently. I mean, they're starting to work on it. Like, recently heard Trump talk about how like malaria might be able to like, somewhat slow down the virus, right? So maybe within the next few weeks we might get some like treatment, but so far there is no treatment for this virus, and so that's what makes it even more deadly. And then like if you take like top off the counter medicine, for example, like ibuprofen, they actually found that if you take ibuprofen, it actually makes the disease worse. So you don't actually, so even like out of the counter drugs like that you can get from the grocery store, those are not going to help you fight the virus, right?
Mm,
They're
mm,
actually going to make the virus worse.
mm.
And that's what makes it deadly. And the fact that it's so contagious and it's so deadly, then that's what creates a pandemic. And I think that's why it's kind of necessary that we don't really have a choice. Like
Oh
we're
yeah.
pretty much stuck in a dilemma. It's either we shut down the economy and save lives, or we allow our healthcare system to get overrun and have millions of people die. And honestly, I'm going to choose economic collapse because at least we can recover from that. Whereas if we have a
Mm.
million people die, that's going to take much more longer to recover from.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I mean, if we're even able to, I mean, like if just mass quantities of people are constantly affected, I mean, it's just going to keep spreading. Like unless there's a vaccine for it that's implemented. But I mean, we're looking at least a year until then. I mean, I yeah, I'm with you. I don't understand why people, it's like, yeah, it sucks. Like I haven't seen a human face besides video chat in like 4 days. But I mean, like it's that or death. Like what do what one would you prefer? And I
well,
remember. Oh, good.
right. I'm glad you mentioned that because like it also kind of reminds me of how people will complain, be like, "Oh well, even if I get it, I'm not going to die from it." Well, sure,
Yeah,
but you're going to have other people die from it because you're because of you being selfish, right?
yeah, yeah. It's
That's kind of the whole
incredibly
point.
selfish.
Even if
I
you may not die from it, other people may die from it, and that's what we're trying to protect.
Yeah, and
So,
they don't seem to understand that. And the most frustrating part, honestly, just honestly speaking, being a Christian, the most frustrating part is when I hear Christians justify, well, like uh, I won't die from it. It's like do you not care about other people? I mean, yeah, but that's the exact point. And I think it was David Baggett on Facebook. I'm friends with him, and he brought up a really good point. Like the whole concept of loving your neighbor is caring for other people. And if you are willingly ignoring all this and letting yourself be exposed to this, you're not just exposing yourself. You're not just endangering your own life. And like that to me is just it's appalling that I'm seeing. I mean, it's appalling. I'm seeing anybody, because it's not ethical. It's appalling that I'm seeing anyone set aside being Christian justify this with this response. But like, especially Christians, like we are called to care about other people, um, and it is absolutely infuriating when I see Christians doing that. And you know what? Uh, Even setting aside if it was as dangerous as the flu, like let's say that the death rate was the exact same, let's say all the figures, the probability was all the same, it would still be bad to say, well, it doesn't affect me. I mean, like,
right.
yeah, it doesn't affect you, but like you said, there's no vaccine for it. And I've actually talked with people that have said they've come around and they're just like, well, the government with modern technology, they'll have a vaccine, so I can do whatever I want. And it's like, no, that's not how that works. Like the FDA is coming right out and saying if they watch I can't remember what it was. It was with Trump, and he had the FDA on, the new commissioner, and he even said that it probably won't be available for. He's like 6 months is really, that's
Lucky,
being, yeah,
right?
that's really optimistic. And he even said, I was a cancer doctor, so I'm all about being optimistic, but at the same time, you have to be realistic. Like, yes, hope for the best, but we have to prepare for the worst situation. And so many people do that. But the biggest thing is the comparison with the flu. Like the regular flu virus. And I actually, it was I think Tim McGrew. He had an estimate. He had like an
He did the
estimate.
math, like this, the basic math of it.
Mhm. And he
Right.
calculated that there'd be like I think like a million deaths or something by the end of the year if people stay at the current rate, like if they're not social distancing. And it's like that's way worse than the flu, even if it. But yeah, anyway. So.
Right. Well, I mean, okay, I can. Sorry, I had to mute myself because I had to. But so with this whole thing, like people think that like, oh, this is vacation time, right? Like, oh, I don't have to work, right? Well, yeah, it's not vacation time. It's a time to quarantine yourself to protect yourself and others. So yes, you're protecting yourself and others. Um, and I'm glad you brought up the vaccine because I've actually had a few people brush it off saying like, oh, they'll have a vaccine within 4 weeks. I'm just like, no, there's no health expert on the planet that says that we're going to have a vaccine in 4 weeks. And they'll be like, oh, well, they're going to mix medicine together and they'll figure out. It's like, no, they're not going to do that. Like, that's ridiculous. That's not even if we're very optimistic, it's going to take at least 6 months. And that's like being the best case scenario,
Yeah.
absolute best case scenario. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, hopefully, honestly, my worry is not necessarily like the first outbreak. I'm worried that once we get out of quarantine, that there's going to be a second outbreak. That's what I'm more worried about because what if like we go in this quarantine for 3 or 4 weeks, then the cases start going down, and then the government starts, getting rid of restrictions, and people start
Which will
socializing.
probably happen. Yeah.
What happens if it comes back? You know,
Mhm. Well,
like
and that's just the thing is that people are getting reinfected by it. I saw a study on I think it was Life Science or something like that. It said that people that are recovered from it are getting it again. Like our bodies are. It's something about the virus that our immune systems can't fight it. Whether it's just the different strains, because I don't know if you know, but I saw online there's two strains of it, and they lettered each one. I can't remember if it was S or L or something. But essentially, one is the more mild one that doesn't kill people, and the other one is the more extreme one that does kill people. Um, and the problem is that you can be reinfected with both. And then having one also makes you extremely likely to get the other one, and you can get it off and on, and it can come back too. So that brings up a great point, like having like that outbreak, like that second outbreak, which will probably happen. People will be like, "Oh man, we're finally out of our social distancing, and we can hang out with friends again," and you're just gonna see the same thing. It's just gonna even if and that's the thing, even if one person is infected and they don't know it and they just social distanced for 4 weeks or whatever and they still have it for some reason, they go out and socialize with their friends and whatnot. Let's say they hang out with 10 people, they meet the minimum, right? They're hanging out with 9 friends. 6 of those friends end up getting it, you know.
mhm.
They don't realize it. They go home, wait a week, they hang out. Each of those people hang out with 5 more people, and then so on and so forth, and it just keeps spreading. And then that's how like these people have never played the game Pandemic, apparently. Like as morbidly as that joke is, like I mean seriously, you don't understand how viruses work. And I actually on my channel on Open Minds, I did a video talking with a friend of mine about this very same thing, and I feel like a lot of people they need this object lesson. And one of the other teachers at my school that I teach at told me how to do this. I didn't want to do it because I hate glitter, but to play hot potato with a ball and put glitter all over it, and then have them, have like a round of hot potato or whatever. And then when the kids are done, have it stop and ask all the kids, how many of you have glitter on your hands? And they're all like, their hands are covered with glitter. That's how bacteria works. That's how viruses work. Like it's very easily spread. And I feel like we need to play that game with everyone in America because not even America. I mean, take a look at how Italy was. That's how they reacted. They were like, "Oh, it's nothing," and look at them now. Like they're they're way out. They're overnumbered with their hospital beds, and their hospitals are having to refuse people because you know they're saying, "Sorry, we
We
can't
can't
see
take
you."
you.
Yeah, yeah.
You're on your own, basically.
And that's what it'll come to. And then at that point, then we'll have our classic reactionary people, and they'll go, "Oh man, like I should have heeded the warning." And at that point, it's too late. Um, and that's the biggest problem is that people are they're just way too. We aren't proactive enough in our approach to anything in life. I mean, we don't prepare for a lot of things. I mean, there's a lot of people that are prepared for different things. Like you have some people that actually have like bomb shelters and stuff, and they have like 2 years of supplies of food, and they actually, they're all good with this. But I mean, granted, I haven't done that. I don't have a bomb shelter, but I typically buy food and stuff in bulk anyway. But
Yeah.
oh, JMD's on. He just said something about toilet paper. Uh, that's that's a really good point. To those watching, there is a temporary stock of toilet paper on Walmart online, um, if you buy it. um, anyway, but yeah, definitely people didn't react enough, and I guess the other thing, if you want to talk about that, is the hoarding in the stores. Um, that's another classic one. So
Yeah, so like when it comes to hoarding, honestly, I think people need to realize like, hey, there's gonna be food. It's not like we're not gonna shut down grocery stores.
oh
Just
yeah.
go shopping as if you were normally going shopping. Don't start hoarding food, okay? And
Mm,
that's because I actually know a few people, and I used to work at a grocery store, but I actually know a few people that do, and they told me like this whole hoarding thing is out of control because grocery stores aren't built to hold like weak stocks of food. They're built to worth of food, right?
mm,
And so what's happening is people are trying to like buy like weeks worth of food, and there's not enough of it.
mm,
Um, and I think that's a huge problem because again, it goes back to that whole being selfish thing. If you're gonna hoard food, like that's being selfish because then other people aren't gonna be able to get the food they need, especially the elderly, right? Because the
mm,
elderly, it's very difficult for them to like get the food they need,
mm.
and so it's just again, it's just being selfish
Oh
about the whole
yeah.
situation.
There was this one picture online. Um, it painted a really good picture. Well, but so it was really there's this little old lady trying to go up to the shelves or whatever, and they were completely empty. And she was just so old. She was hunched over. She could barely walk with her regular walker. And you got to take a look at that and go, you know, this is what I'm doing. Like I'm making it so that way people that are older that even struggled, like it was just a struggle to get to the grocery store. Um, and I have friends that they have disabilities, and so they live off of what is it, SSI or SSDI or whatever.
Right.
They're just like government money, and they can't drive, so they depend on walking to the local grocery store. And if they can't make it there, then or if they can make it there, but if they get there and everything is completely sold out, you're causing people to rely on like different food links and churches that have, uh, and different government programs where they have boxes of food they give out. And I mean, to be honest, not all that food is. Most of it is like just on the expiration date, um, so it's not lasting as long. So I mean, it's a tough situation indeed. I mean, it really is awful how people are treating this. And the thing is that, like you said, they don't need to hoard it. All they need to do, like, yeah, it's a potentially deadly virus. If you're paranoid, put on a face mask, put on some gloves, go to the store, regularly grocery shop. You know, when you cash out, your regular grocery list, bring it home. If you're really paranoid again, wipe it down. Use like like an alcohol with paper towel or uh, like a Lysol wipe or whatever, and wipe down the can or the box of cereal or milk or whatever. And that's good enough. Like you don't need to make it so that other people, um, not only that, but it makes demand go way up. So like the price, like I just bought toilet paper online, one pack, by the way. I'm not hoarding. I
Yeah.
bought one pack. It was like $15 for a jumbo pack of 48, and that's like normally at Walmart I could get that for like I don't know, 8-10 bucks. Like it's going up, and it's pretty ridiculous. So, um, but yeah, you just can't but feel. I feel like there's immense frustration with how people are acting, and as many memes as we see online, like imagine if there was like in a hypothetical scenario if zombies were real, like
Oh
if
yeah.
like how would people react in a freaking like a zombie apocalypse? Like I couldn't even imagine there'd be like people fighting
People
over.
would be shooting each other. I
Yeah,
don't. Yeah.
there'd be people shooting each other over the last Twinkie at Walmart or something. Like it's really, yeah, it
Yeah,
is
I
frustrating
think
for
I
sure.
think what this has shown us, this whole pandemic thing, is that we would not survive a zombie apocalypse. Everyone just kill each
No,
other.
yeah, except the people that have like bomb shelters, they might
Yeah,
survive a few years, but
yeah. Most people would not survive.
someone in the comments mentioned the malaria drug. I did see, and that's what President Trump actually addressed. I know there was a lot of confusion about him having the FDA commissioner on, and the FDA commissioner kind of contradicting what Trump said, which it's kind of cherry picking because he didn't contradict what President Trump said. He basically just said that more or less what we said earlier, that it's very hopeful what President Trump is doing, and I honestly can get that. Like I understand, um, like not wanting to lie to people, but at the same time, he doesn't want people to panic even more. And that's
Right.
the big thing is making sure that people aren't panicking, to
That there's
think
some
rationally.
like
Yeah,
hope. Right.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, maybe it is false to say a few weeks, but at the very least, that's why he had the FDA commissioner on to present what he knows. The president's job isn't to memorize what the FDA their plans for implementing this new malaria drug as a potential cure for it or treatment for it. His job is to help organize the American people and also to provide a little bit of hope that
Well,
we have.
right. Well, I also want to mention the fact that, like, when it comes to the government handling this, it's not just the federal government, so it's not just Trump. He
Mm,
also has like underlings, like governors, and then from there you get to the state level, and then from governors you get to the local level, right?
mm,
So each county has to do their job, each governor has to do their job, the president has to do his job, and then it all works together. Okay,
mm,
because people will complain like, oh, well, this is just big government. And I guess you could say, yes, it is big government, right? The government has to be involved. But at the same time, you need to remember that each state has their own control. So really, it's the governors that can really decide what goes on in their
mm,
state.
mm,
So when it comes to like, what's going to really be impacted, it's mainly just on the governor's level, right? The state level of
mm,
what's like in my state. Like I live in California, and just last night, Governor Newsom, he just announced that he's going to shut down the whole state, and so that's his job, right?
mm,
And then the New York governor just declared today that he's going to shut down all of New York. So yeah, I mean, I think slowly but surely each state's going to have their own rules and regulations. So it's
mm,
not just Trump that's fighting this virus. I mean, yeah, he's the leader in all of it, but ultimately it comes down to the governors and the state local officials. And
mm,
so,
mm.
we're all in this together, right? And that's the whole point. We all
High
have
School Musical.
a common enemy that we're fighting here.
Yeah,
So,
you quoted High School Musical. So.
uh,
But yeah, no, I mean that's definitely that brings about a really good point. I mean, uh, yeah, there's a lot of people. Back to the governors shutting everything down and whatnot. There's a lot of people that Governor Cuomo for New York, they're completely against him shutting stuff down. And I keep telling people, like he gave us a warning. Like everyone had a warning. That's what they started off with. They started off with don't do this or there'll be consequences. And lo and behold, the consequences are here. They're shutting everything down, and now people are like, "Man, we weren't expecting that. What did you think they were gonna do? Like, their end goal is basically they're doing it because they care about us, not because they're trying." And this is the big thing: is people are like, "Oh, the Democratic agenda and like the Democrats are are causing this reaction or whatever,
Right.
and they're blowing it way out of proportion. It's like they're not. They're they're simply listening to what you were referring to, how the federal government was suggesting them for the act, and they're implementing their own plan. And they're because people weren't listening to it, they have to force us to socially distance, and I think that's sad that they do. And you have
Right.
instances
In
like
Florida, for
yeah,
example.
Florida. Oh my gosh, did you watch that video?
Yeah.
Oh,
Partying
that was
beach.
so. I've never wanted to like reach across the screen and slap the bejesus out of people, like like that was just so. Um, the one white girl on there, she's like, I just turned 21, get lit, and I'm like, what, like that doesn't like this might be your last birthday if you really want to get lit, like what, like why is that even a thing? It's but I'm glad Florida is actually responding to it. Did you see that they were
Oh no, what I know they're gonna do something eventually. What did
they're
they
they're shutting down the beaches. They shut down all the bars, obviously.
right.
I guess there's a few beaches that remain open, but I think that's just because there's so many in Florida that they have to get to them. And
And
um,
if it doesn't get any better, they might have to declare martial law, that's the last, you know,
I would be
straw.
fully supportive of that. Like honestly, like if
In
people are
Florida, yeah.
doing like if people were just doing absolutely stupid stuff and not being socially distant and just ignoring this threat, I'd be like, yeah, go ahead. Like I'm the one over here, sitting at my home for the past 4 days because I don't want to kill other people, but these people don't mind killing other people indirectly, you know. Um, but yeah, so I mean, um, it's just frustrating. I can't help but notice. Did you see JFD's response?
Yeah.
Uh, I'm sorry, you're in California for other reasons independent of the coronavirus. What does
Yeah.
he
I
even
just
mean by that?
I just wonder, my biggest thing is what's gonna happen to the political landscape once this is all finished? Like, are people gonna go back to their old ways, or I think maybe we might have some compromises between both political parties, right? Because right now, before this virus, everything was completely divided. But now it seems like since we have something bringing everything together, I'm wondering if there's going to be like some compromises between the parties, in terms of like healthcare or immigration or stuff like that. You know, that'll be interesting to see. You still there? Brian, you're frozen. All right, he's frozen. Hold on. I'll have to message him. Well, he'll be back shortly. I just have to I'm gonna have some other people join in a minute. Just give me a moment. I don't like when this happens because then I have to wait for people to join, and it's not good. But it is what it is. Sorry, guys. He got kicked out. Apparently, he must have lost connection or something. So I'm gonna wait until everything gets back. Okay. I don't know what that happened.
Hey, sorry about that.
It's okay. And Eric still hasn't joined, so I don't know if he's probably not going to join, but we'll see.
Yeah, it was my internet. It cut out. It's been doing that lately. Maybe it's the 5G towers causing my internet to give me cancer.
What do you think about the conspiracy theories surrounding like the origin of this virus, or like the government using this virus to like promote the one world, new world order, or whatever you want to call it? Because there's been a lot of like conspiracy theories about how the virus like is either a hoax or if it's like government controlled by the Illuminati to like try to get us into martial law, like all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's all BS. Like I don't know why they would. I don't know where people would come to jump to those immense, like those huge conclusions. It started in Wuhan. It's likely to have originated from bats. If you go onto Live Science, was it .com? They have a really good video. It's about 20 minutes long, talking about all of it. I'm not understanding why people are jumping to the conclusion that it's the Illuminati. Like,
Right.
there's no evidence of that. Like, if you could provide the evidence, sure, maybe I'll look at it. But until then, like, you're just it's just a crackpot theory. That's all it is. I've heard the 5G towers are causing this virus, like the new 5G towers that they started. And it's actually really funny when I hear people talk about that, because I've actually studied a lot into, it's called ionized radio frequencies. And I wanted to study it because I ran a nonprofit ministry called 410 Ministries, and I was donating people technology. I'd refurbish the computers and whatnot. And I had a whole bunch of people telling me, like, I can't have this smartphone, or I can't have this laptop because, the Bluetooth in it causes cancer. And I'm like, what? So I looked it up, and sure enough, so any smartphone or even a computer, if it has Bluetooth function in it, gives off what's called non-ionized radio frequency. So there's ionized and then there's non-ionized. The ionized is what you see, I believe, in like microwaves. That's the kind of radio frequency that you should avoid, obviously. But the only way that you'd be exposed to it is if like you were able to put yourself in a microwave. So, I mean, besides that, so like the non-ionized in cell phones, um, it gives off such a little bit of amount where like it could warm your skin if it's like in your cell phone's in your pocket long enough. And at that point, it won't cause any kind of damage. It literally will just heat up your skin temporarily. It does nothing to your cells to cause severe cellular damage. And then the whole thing about the 5G signal causing a virus, I have no idea how a cell phone service could make a virus enter your system. Like,
well, not only that, but we don't even have enough like G5 towers to kind of do that on a wide scale. Like you would have to assume that like all of Europe and all of like Italy right now is like covered in, you know, G5 towers, and that's just not true at all.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, Eric joined us.
Yeah, I don't. Eric, can you hear us? I don't know if.
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. I can hear you.
Okay.
But there's actually there's two theories that are not within the conspiracy theory realm. I think one of them is probably the most likely the case, but so there's one theory that says that it was actually created in a laboratory. Now the problem with that is there's actually been some studies that kind of show that it's this virus isn't bioengineered, so it's not like a biological weapon, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that, you know, it could have been in a lab per se, but it wasn't like engineered in a lab.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think most likely it actually came from the Chinese. So in China, they actually have a market of like exotic animals. Like we're talking like bats, penguins, snakes, and people just in China, they pretty much eat these things without actually cooking them. And I think that's where it came from. I think somehow someone ate a bat or something or some exotic animal, and then they ate it, and that's how the virus itself transferred to humans, and then it became the coronavirus.
I mean, that's exactly what I've seen on livescience.com, and the CDC as well, I think, has an article on that. I mean, that makes sense. You know, like it's possible maybe they didn't cook the animal down long enough or something, and which, you know, I mean, they don't exactly have regular food regulations over there. So
right, and that's the problem. Right, and that's the problem is there's actually like a lot of the viruses in the past have actually come from China. Like we're talking H1N1, the swine flu, like in SARS back in 2013. That actually came from China as well. So there's a lot of viruses that came from China. That's kind of where these pandemics are coming from, and I think what needs to happen is I think the Chinese government needs to shut down those markets if we want to avoid this. Yeah,
because like you said, it's happened before, so it's like why don't they? But the problem is that they're, you know, they don't listen to us. They kind of just do their own thing.
Right. So, because I know when SARS first came out, it was very well contained. Like it caused some deaths, it caused some infections, but it actually never became a pandemic because they were able to contain it. But now we have the coronavirus, which is like an upgraded version of SARS, which caused all these problems. So,
what do you think, Eric?
I came in late. What are you guys talking about specifically?
Just the origin of the virus. Like, where do you think it came from?
It's probably just a natural occurrence. Because we get these outbreaks every 100 years or so, and we're due for one.
Right.
Well, like what Kyle was saying, that, you know, I mean, what's been going on in a lot of different Chinese provinces and stuff, a number of reasons. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different ones, but a number of them is simply that, you know, like there's not food regulations. So like, yeah, I mean, maybe these things happen every 100 years or so, like the Spanish influenza, that was 1920.
Yeah, the Spanish flu.
Yeah.
That was the last major pandemic that killed like a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Back
so
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say it happens every so often, but the fact is that it happens frequently. At least it's like Kyle was saying, it's happened in the past, uh, at least just
20
in,
years just from
yeah,
China alone.
yeah, just from China alone. So I mean, the fact really is that they need stronger regulations with their food and whatnot. But that's hard to force, because it's not like China's exactly an ally other than a trade ally. So they're not going to listen to anything that we have to offer. So not only that, but they didn't give us a immediate response. Like they didn't really let the World Health Organization know about this outbreak until it was already passing on to other organizations or other countries. I want to say the first time I heard about this, it was like October, or no. It was November, and then they said that it actually started in about September, October. So, you have a few months beforehand where China had the opportunity to warn other people, and they didn't, So,
That's
I
what
mean,
pisses me off the most about this whole thing is that China could have prevented this. Like
mhm,
we wouldn't have to go through any of this crap if China would have simply just let the public know, let the world know, and then we could have contained it in China so that it didn't spread. And then
yeah,
we could have done to the coronavirus the same thing we did to the SARS virus. We could have contained it, and it wouldn't be an issue. But now it's like this huge issue, and now we have to deal with it,
mhm,
and that people are
absolutely.
dying.
No, yeah,
So
absolutely. Like I think it was you that shared something on Facebook about how China should be held responsible.
the
And
Chinese government, not the Chinese people, because it
oh no,
wasn't their
yeah,
fault.
not not
Yeah,
not not the people. Like they're
right.
just
Just
under
the
this.
Chinese
Yeah,
government should be held responsible for what happened, in my
yeah,
opinion.
yeah. It is important that you differentiate between that
Well,
because there
that's the
are.
other thing is a lot of people are starting to be with. They're starting to attack Chinese people, and it's like it's not Chinese people's fault. That's
Yeah,
not.
yeah,
It's not their fault at all. What it is, it's the Chinese government. There's a distinction between Chinese people as an ethnicity and the Chinese government, as an
absolutely,
organization. So
absolutely. No, but anyway, thank you for that correction. No, definitely the Chinese government is what I'm referring to. Like they're the ones that definitely should be held responsible. Definitely not the people. But yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I think that I'm sorry, they should, if um, if the U.S. did the same thing, if there was like a huge outbreak, I would most certainly be upset if the U.S. didn't tell other nations, which I can't imagine them not telling other nations.
right.
So a lot of it is just honestly the a lot of the Chinese government, they're just super prideful. I mean, they're all about this public image. They have to look like they're on top of it and they're ahead of the game, and just to try to keep up with other nations and whatnot. And then there's the other thing is that I guess there was this partnership with I think it was Iran. Did you guys see that?
Oh, they're both trying to hide it, or because I know there was a partnership on that, but I didn't look into the details of.
Not trying to hide it. Both Iran and China were essentially they were targeting the U.S. They were saying that the U.S. started the coronavirus.
Oh, they're trying to blame shifting, basically.
Yeah. So like, um, and I don't know how you could
And that's
assume
just so
that.
obviously false because if you look at SARS, again, SARS is a very similar virus to the coronavirus. That started in China. Okay, and this virus is very similar. There's no way that the US military or whatever is going to be able to create a virus. Again, we already went over this. Like the virus was not created in the lab. We know that. And we know that in China there's a market of exotic animals from where these viruses come from. Well, the best explanation is that it came from China. It did not come from the US government.
Yeah.
So,
Although I suppose then maybe you could speculate and you could say like there was military, like a group of military, like U.S. military, like a squad of soldiers or something that cooked the food improperly and then and then spread it around or whatever. But like that's just like nothing shows that. Like there's if China would even, I don't even know if China allows for a military outpost in their country, a U.S. military outpost.
Yeah, no.
I know that there's one in, like there's a few in the Middle East, but those are countries where reestablishing. Whereas China, it's like you are not entering into here. At least to my knowledge, I could be wrong, but from what I've read and stuff. So,
Right.
Eric, you sent this PDF about sustainable development or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I came in when you guys were talking about, I don't know, what was it, Agenda 21 or something? Well, that's the PDF for the official documentation there that you can read.
Cool.
Yeah.
If I can read, I can't read, so I'm joking. What is this for? Combating poverty.
It's like 350 pages. It'll take a while to get through.
Yeah, maybe. Definitely not now, but yeah, I mean, that's definitely what do you think about all this? You've been, since you came in late, you've been kind of haven't heard anything. I know you said that you think it happens every 100 years or so.
Yep.
Why do you think that?
That just kind of seems to be the pattern. Like the last one, like you guys were just discussing, was the Spanish flu, and that took out about a third of the population at the time. It was like 40 million plus people. And I highly doubt that this is going to be that severe. I don't think it's going to be on that level at all. It's probably, I mean, if anything, you just kind of like, you got to let like natural selection just do its thing. I don't think this should be contained, honestly.
I'm sorry, what? Like you think that like if there's a deadly virus, you think that we should let it take its course and just not make a vaccine for it? And
yeah.
Even if that affects you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And all the people you love in your life?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't really say much about that.
What is your worldview, if you don't mind me asking?
What's that? You cut out.
What is your worldview?
In like what sense?
Like Christian, Buddhist, atheist, agnostic?
Not a Christian.
Not okay.
Yeah. No, I don't know.
So you're an agnostic.
Getting in the way of nature seems to be a bad thing. Well, you do think natural selection is a thing, right? Like it's a real force in the world, right?
Oh yeah, I do. But I also think that we have the means to be able to
Protect ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, if you do that, then you allow like the weak to live on, and that sort of interferes with societies. Because if you have societies with a bunch of weak people, physically.
What do you mean by weak though? Like immunodeficient? Because that's different.
Well, just in general, like physically, intellectually. I mean, you don't want a bunch of like dumb, weak people running society, right? That's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, but that doesn't mean
Sparta was good too, right? How they threw out the babies with developmental disabilities. Do you agree with that?
I don't see why not.
Well,
I mean, nature is going to do that anyway.
No,
I mean,
people are doing that.
Well, and, I mean, humans are a part of nature, though.
Yes, but we choose to do things. So like a murderer, for example, or a rapist, would you say that person deserved to be raped because? I know we're like rabbit trailing crazily, but I am just completely blown away that like. Okay, so back to the example. So like if someone were to be raped, you would think that that's just natural selection. Like the person deserved to be raped.
Well, I don't know if I'd phrase it like they deserve it, but I mean,
Well, naturalistically, if they're weak.
well, I mean, that wouldn't be more of a deserving thing. That would be just sort of, that's just something that happens because you're too weak to fight off your predator. That's like how the animal kingdom operates, and we are animals at the end of the day.
Yeah, we are, but we have choices. We can make choices. So we, as Kyle said, we can make the choice to create a vaccine and not kill millions of people.
Why would you do that?
To
Protect
save the lives
species.
of millions of people.
Okay, when you talk about survival of the fittest, we're talking about which species can survive, because that includes human beings.
Yeah, and a pretty good litmus test for that is to let viruses and diseases that occur naturally, like this one, just sort of run their course, because the strongest of those infected are going to survive it, and the weakest.
Okay, but that doesn't mean that we don't use a vaccine. There's a difference. No, it doesn't.
It does.
Eric,
because a vaccine is it's part of nature. It's using the immune system to fight off a disease. Okay, that's completely natural. You're not
the people who survive the initial outbreak, their immune systems are going to be strengthened and get used to that disease, and they can live on and they can survive.
Okay, first of all, Eric,
that's kind of how that works.
No, with this disease, our immune systems are unable to fight it. It could
but
kill.
Not everyone is dying from it.
I'm sorry, what?
Not everyone is dying from it, so apparently a lot of people's immune systems are able to fight it.
Not yet. I mean, we've only experienced this for not even
not that long.
Yeah, I mean, like
2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the rest of the world is much longer, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people getting reinfected that recovered from it, that were in that recovery state. I wish I could pull up the amount of cases that were reinfected, but our bodies can't fight this. It has the potentiality of like what if everyone on Earth? What if everyone on Earth was weak at that point? By your standards, if everyone is weak, you'd be okay with the whole species dying.
Yeah, I mean, whole species have died off before. With what makes us so special?
Okay, it's not about making it special. I could care less. As far as I'm not talking about being special or not being special. What makes us different is that we have a moral sense about us, and that moral sense causes us to want to care about other people. And that ultimately should make us want to save other people as much as we can.
Even the weak people who bring down society.
Who says they bring down society?
The markets, economics.
So you would be okay with all the poor people being killed off?
Yeah.
Okay, so for example, what if Bill Gates was killed off? Back when he was poor and we didn't have the operating system.
Sorry, you cut out again.
If Bill Gates, going back to the 70s, 80s, if Bill Gates were to die because there was some deadly disease, you'd consider him weak because he lived with his parents or whatever at the time. So
and he died
he died because of your same standards. So he was no longer living because he was considered weak economically.
Well, he was weak. I mean, he'd be weak economically because he was weak physically, right?
I mean, I guess I would understand that, but the point is that now he is not. He is a huge benefit to the society. People that are poor, I mean, there's a bunch of different cases where people started off being poor and then they benefited society. I honestly don't understand that justification.
Yeah, well, I just want to add that human life isn't valued by how poor or rich you are. I think that's the point.
Yeah, that's all that I was kind of trying to get at too, I guess, is personally for me, I'm considered poor. So like I think that's really kind of crappy to assert that I am therefore weak because I bring down the economic status.
Well, I mean, that it's sort of just a fact, though. Like we can't get our emotions involved here, right?
It's a fact. It's not a
Yeah.
fact.
It is a fact. The markets
how
prove this.
The markets prove that
Yeah.
poor people naturalistically bring down society and deserve
Yes,
death.
Yes, we have a bloated welfare system that is absolutely destroying our economy right now.
Oh yeah, I would agree, but I wouldn't agree that they deserve death because of it. Unless you're Thanos, you know.
Well, I'm not saying he was right, but
so anyways,
Yeah, sorry.
yeah, no, it's fine. I understand we can have our disagreements and whatever. But anyways, so the currently, as you can see here, so the world infected is pretty high right now. I think today it went up like the highest. I'm not sure. I'll have to look at the numbers, but yeah, the world is not doing very well. Wow, we're already earlier today. I checked; it was at like 16,000 last time, and now it's almost up at 20,000 in the U.S. So that's not good in terms of like containing it, but we'll see what happens. Is there anything else you guys wanted to discuss, or?
Well, just that if the economy collapses, which it's more than likely going to, that's going to be way more deadly than this virus could ever be.
How do you figure?
Well, everything is tied in with economics.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but we can recover from that.
Not really, depending on how bad it is.
That's what happened with the Great Depression. That's what happened in the Great Recession. We can recover from this. People can make money again. But losing human life, that you can't get that back. Once you're dead, you're dead. You can't come back.
You can get that back. You just got to repopulate.
No, you can't. I'm talking about
you
human life. I'm talking about individuals. Again, you're talking society here. I'm talking individuals.
Yeah,
when individuals die,
made
they
up of
cannot
individuals.
come back. Someone's money, like for example, I can lose my entire savings account, but I can get back my savings account eventually, right? But if I die, I can't come back. It's the same concept. So this whole idea that, oh, well, just let the people die, we'll eventually repopulate. Again, we're not talking society, we're talking individuals, okay? Because individuals, they can get their money back. What they can't get back is their lives. So,
right.
So I think it's better for us to make that trade-off, at least for now.
Yeah, and I'd have to look it up too. There was actually, I'll look it up real quick. There was I can't remember, and I'm not massively knowledgeable on economy and whatnot, but I did see a report that basically it said the same thing that Kyle's saying, is that we will be hurt, like we'll be put in a temporary recession probably, but we can bounce back from it. But if so many amount of people die, then it'll affect it so much to the point where we can't bounce back. So I mean that makes sense.
How many people have died from this virus so far, if anyone has the numbers?
That's right there. 11,000 deaths, and that's going to keep going up.
That's not too bad.
It's going to keep going up, though.
To what?
And here's the thing:
what are the predictions?
It's going to be low because we have self quarantine, so it's not going to be. We're not going to overflow the healthcare system, is what I'm saying.
But to answer your question about the estimates,
well, most of those are coming from places like Italy, right?
Well, yeah. Italy has 4,000 deaths. China 3,000 deaths, Iran.
Well, that's because of the ages, though, right? In those regions, because I have read that this affects people specifically of like age 50 to 55 and older, and the average age of your average age of your Italian is 47.
That's not
And that's the
necessarily
reason.
true, actually.
Can I share my screen?
Yeah, go ahead. Hold on.
Sorry.
Here, try to do it. Okay.
Can you guys hear me? Can you see it? Okay. So yeah. So the age groups of 55 to 64 represented about 18% of the total. And then if we scroll down, and this data is from CDC, I want to say it was at 40%. I can't remember where it exactly said that, but I can send you this link. I shared this with another guy, and he kind of scoffed at it because it was New York Times, but I don't know how that matters if the source is from the CDC. But it essentially says that
29% were aged 20 to 44.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a large portion. So it's not just older people. It's people of all ages that are affected by it. And there's this video of this young woman from the UK. She's in a hospital, and she's barely recovering from it. She's completely healthy. She didn't smoke. I mean, so the assertion that, oh, it just affects older people, like, no, that's not the reason. The reason why it's so detrimental in Italy is because they were reactive to it. If they were even reactive at all, like they just ignored it. And that's why it's so bad. It's not because of age. It's because
the people who have died from it, though, not the people who have been infected. The people who have died from it is primarily due to their age, and if they have other sort of health conditions going on.
Well, no.
So not necessarily who it infects, but who it kills.
Well, no. What I'm saying is that if you have a lot of people infected, then you have a lot of people that can't get into the hospitals because they're filled up. Their healthcare system is clogged, essentially.
I should also add that like healthcare workers can also get infected, which decreases the hospital capacity even more, and that's the other problem we're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think we've gone for an hour now, so I don't think anybody else is going to join. So I guess we'll close it off here. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you all are doing well. And again, just keep watching the news, keep understand what's going on. I don't know how long we're going to be in the situation for, but hopefully I'm really hoping that it ends by next month, but we'll see. So anyways, thank you guys for watching, and God bless you all.